Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. Welcome back to another episode of the Burning Question podcast here on Fantasy Football Scout. Tom, Chelsea win at the weekend. What a game it was. And an interesting game week, of course, because there was no Liverpool-Everton fixture. Caused a blank game week for them. We might talk a little bit about when that potential double game week might be rearranged. That is, of course, a pretty big implication on how game weeks went for a lot of people and how much investment it had. And it actually made me play with only 10 players this week. We're going to have a look ahead to game week 16 on this stream. But Tom, how are we doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. A few things. You played with 10, but you still beat me. So well done. And I got a red arrow. I actually got a 6,000 green arrow, I
Oh,
think.
sorry.
So you shortchanged me there.
Sorry.
867k up to 852k. So that's useful. But yeah, anyway. And yeah, decent weekend with Chelsea, obviously. But I feel a little bit shortchanged because I was going to captain Palmer anyway. So slightly disappointing that Salah got suspended, but
Yeah,
no complaints really.
My armband was. I did consider the Parma captain, but I only moved it because of the postponement. I think a lot of people are probably in a similar boat to me. If you moved it to Saka, you weren't quite as fortunate. If you moved it to anywhere else, there wasn't very much else apart from Palmer and Saka. To be honest, there wasn't much to.
A few Watkins got burned,
Yeah,
I think. Unfortunate there.
so it was only really if you moved it to Palmer, you ended up doing okay. We're going to do something slightly different during today's stream. For those of you on YouTube, I have added my screen share. We're going to go through a few more things and make it a little bit more interactive in today's burning questions. So if you've got stuff you want us to have a look at, please do drop it in the chat. If someone could just let us know everything is working well, and if you do have questions, do fire them away. So Tom, we've got your team up on screen at the moment. You've got 55 points, just outside the top 4 million for Game Week rank, but it was a green arrow. I do apologise.
Yeah, tiny. But yeah, 55, pretty rubbish, to be honest. Everyone blanked apart from Palmer, and Eight Nori got 4 points. Raya, Dallo, Dunk, Eight Nori, Rogers, Semenyo, Palmer captain, Saka, Cunha, João Pedro, and Jackson. I did Brennan Johnson to Morgan Rogers, which obviously didn't pay off because Johnson got 4 points, but it was a transfer that has given me the money this week to get a Liverpool defender, which I've already done, which we'll come to later. And I just thought Rodgers, Southampton, you may as well go now as opposed to Brennan against Chelsea.
Yep.
Didn't quite work. I was close to getting Enzo, but I went for Rodgers in the end, so a little bit disappointing. But I think it's all right, and I can get a Liverpool defender this week, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, we'll have a look at some of those cheap midfielders. That's going to be one of the topics that we do cover today. Looking at my game week. So, I mean, I know people say that I get quite lucky, but I got incredibly lucky this week, right? Because my two planned transfers, if Liverpool Everton had been on, was Mbermo to Rodgers and Lewis to Trent. And Burmo scored 13, Lewis scored 4, and the armband would not have been on Cole Palmer. I don't even want to know what the potential swing would have been. Of course, we'll never know, right? Because Trent and Salah could have scored 15 points each and then things would look okay. But yeah, like that just seems crazy because that's an 18-point return for Palmer captain. That's 13 from Burmo, 4 for Lewis. So what's that? Salah and Trent needed to score a hell of a lot of points. And I probably would have still played with 10 players because I would have been left with Mykolenko. I suppose I would have had Mykolenko against Liverpool, but Gabriel didn't feature, Greaves didn't feature, Salah didn't have a game, and Mykolenko didn't have a game. So I was down to 10 players, but a green arrow because of the Cole Palmer captaincy, which was basically the swing for me. So yes, quite fortunate this week. Forward line all blanking was not what I expected this week, and I'm starting to be a little bit concerned, particularly by Wolves. I was expecting them to do a little bit better, and I thought they might then have a new manager this week, which it doesn't sound like they're going to do either. So I've still got double Wolves going to Ipswich at home at the weekend, which is okay.
Yeah, next two are big for Cunha, Ipswich and Leicester. I mean, 3 games ago, he was getting hauls against Southampton and Fulham, so hopefully he's got something left. But it's a little bit concerning.
Yeah, scoring from 30 yards is the only concern there. Eight Nori finally got an assist, and it was nice to see that he didn't get booked because my defence is already on the ropes. this weekend, and I could not have done with Eight Nori is about the only defender I have this week that I definitely want to play, because Gabriel is yellow flagged, Lewis is red flagged, Mikalenko has Arsenal away, and Greaves doesn't get in the squad. So if Eight Nori had been booked, I really would have been in trouble. We'll talk about captaincy this week as well, because it does feel pretty open between Salah, Palmer, and then maybe even Saka as well. So the first thing we're going to do is probably the big topic of the week, and that is midfielders. So what we're going to have a look at is those cheaper midfielders. We are going to include basically anything that's a Brian and Burma replacement. So we're going to put a max price in at 7.5 million. We're going to have a look at their stats so far this season, and then we'll start to have a look at how things have evolved over the past few weeks, because it's really interesting to see Enzo Fernandez's ranking. And then when you move it to the past 6 weeks, he massively changes. So when you start to have a look at XGI, what we've got here is XGI per 90 when players have started games so far this season. You've got Cliver up there, you've got Anthony Gordon up there, you've got Brennan Johnson up there. I don't mind Brennan Johnson. I still quite like him at his price. I think he's a pretty decent long-term hold. The issue for me, and the issue for a lot of people, is that mid-price budget doesn't fit in anyone's squad structures at the moment, because a lot of us are looking to go a Trent, a Van Dijk. So there isn't really space for a Johnson or a Gordon in there if you're wanting to go for those premium defenders, if you want Arsenal as well. If you weren't going for a premium defender, do you think that Gordon and Johnson are worth the money over some of these cheaper ones? Or a Bowen, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, I think Johnson's a good asset, although I have just sold him for the reason you just mentioned, because I wanted a Liverpool defender, so I thought it made sense. Originally, my plan was to kind of get Bowen for the Monday night game, which is a little bit annoying. I didn't do that, but I think I prefer Bowen over Johnson and Gordon probably.
Yeah, when we have a look at the fixture ticker for the next 8 weeks, I mean, West Ham is good for the next few. They've got Bournemouth at home, Bournemouth away, Brighton at home, Southampton away, but then it is Liverpool, City, Fulham, like Villa. So he's good short term, but long term things get a little bit more difficult again. Spurs are one of those teams that I never feel like have a really difficult run. Their bad games are just spaced out. So every so often they'll just have like a difficult game. So they've got Southampton this week, then they play Liverpool. Then it's Forest, Wolves, Newcastle, but then it's Arsenal, but then it's Everton, Leicester. There's never been like a real opportunity that you have to sell your Spurs players. But that's the issue with them. And then who was the other one? Gordon, right? They are second in the fixture ticker for overall. They're actually top when you filter it by attack for the next 8 weeks. So I don't mind Gordon. The only issue, right, is he didn't play at the weekend. But I don't think that's something we're going to see very often. I feel like it was just based off fatigue from the game midweek.
Yeah, I mean, those three is kind of, yeah, it's just a question of do you want to get a Liverpool defender? Because like that's what happened to me, and I decided to go down to Rodgers. And the thing with Brennan Johnson as well is like Maddison didn't start on the weekend, and there's always that kind of thing where it's like 3 into 2.
Yeah.
With Kulusevski, Maddison, Johnson. Like he benched Son last week. You know, I mean, being brutal, they keep losing, so he might try and change it. Like their best performance recently was City, and that was Maddison who was the star. So yeah, it's. I wasn't too sad to lose him, to be brutally honest.
The difference in value from a 5 million defender to a Trent versus a Gordon versus a 5.5 million midfielder feels better to invest that in defence at the moment. Feels like some of those cheaper midfielders are fine in comparison. Gordon and Bowen might prove me wrong. Bowen did prove me wrong this week, but I still think that that's where I should be looking. I'd be looking to spend the money is at some of those cheaper ones. When we look at the fixture ticker for the cheaper ones, you've got, there's actually a player I don't think is being spoken about enough, is Dibbling. They're fourth for fixtures over the next 8. They have a really, really nice run for about the next 10 or so weeks. If you're having to play him often, then I don't love it. But if he's going to be your 8th attacker, I don't hate it quite as much. Chelsea are very high. Bournemouth are very high. You've got Fulham next, and after Fulham play Liverpool this week, they go even higher because they've got Southampton, Bournemouth, Ipswich in 3 of the next 4 after that. Brighton are in there. Who are some of the others that people are looking at in terms of cheaper ones? Aston Villa are actually quite low down. That's because they've got 2 big difficult fixtures in Manchester City and Arsenal in their next 8 as well. So all of them have a pretty nice run of fixtures. So there's not really one that stands out that has better fixtures. Maybe you look at Chelsea and you look at Enzo, but those Fulham fixtures are really nice as well. Before we look at the actual players, is there someone that stands out in terms of a fixture run? Is that why you like Enzo?
Yeah, I mean it's got to be Enzo, doesn't it? I mean these next seven for Chelsea is like one of the best runs you're going to get all season, and he's in red hot form. It's probably the best he's played in a Chelsea shirt, and Maresca keeps saying he needs to get in the box and score goals, and so there's a lot of positive things there.
Hmm.
But in the end, I went for Rodgers, probably slightly safe and probably a little bit led by that Southampton fixture as well.
Hmm. I mean, the thing with Rodgers is, and we'll go back to some of the data, is you kind of know what you're getting with Rodgers every week. And that was, I went Rodgers. So I've gone Rodgers this week over going with Enzo. Now, if I looked again, if I was doing it now, would I go Enzo? The other thing for me in my situation is I've already got double Chelsea attack. And I don't know how I feel about going triple Chelsea attack because there are like Everton away next week. I'd basically have to play him. So there are a couple of things in my situation that made me go Rodgers over going Enzo, particularly because of that triple Chelsea attack. But I do agree that he has looked really good, and at his price, that's not that wrong. It's not that far wrong. You can go with a player like that. And what's really interesting, if we have a look at this data and we filter it to the last 6 matches, I believe he goes as like the third best midfielder under 7 million, ranked by XGI, fourth. But the ones above him are Clivert, who don't play 90. You've got Madueke, who doesn't play 90, and you've got Jordan Ayew, who doesn't play 90. So out of the players who are playing 90 minutes, he has the best XGI per 90 out of any midfielder under 7.5 million over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's crazy. And like that's kind of borne out by the eye test. Like the things like you remember his goal against Leicester, he's getting the rebound in the 6 yard box.
Yeah.
Like that's encouraging stuff. Madueke second there. I think if you're owning Madueke, you should hold for this week. Just a quick note because Neto's suspended, but I
Oh,
probably wouldn't buy Madueke.
that's why Neto's going to the game
Yeah,
tomorrow because he's suspended this
yeah.
weekend, of course.
Be gutted he got that yellow card.
Yeah. It was going
But
to
yeah,
happen at some
and
point.
yeah, do you think Sancho is an asset? Just really briefly.
I don't like our wingers because when other players come back, I do think there's a chance that it's like Felix plays that role and comes in central. And when they're starting, they're only going to be playing 60, 70. So like I'd buy Enzo before buying Sancho or Madueke if I was looking at Chelsea.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's fair enough.
I mean, Rogers' data of 0.48 is still really good. Like some of the data for some of these, and he's consistent, you kind of know what you're getting. But this kind of highlights to me that it's not worth spending the money on someone like a Bowen, someone like a Gordon quite as much because there's not that much to pick between them in the moment when you look at it in terms of data.
Yeah, no. What do you think about Rodgers' minutes? Like he hasn't had a rest yet. Do you think?
I mean, if anything, I think it's great for his minutes because he
Yeah,
surely should have got a rest if he was going to get one.
yeah,
His minutes feel absolutely locked in at the moment.
yeah. I mean
I
that
mean,
that would be the difference with him and Bowen, maybe because Bowen is like nailed.
yeah,
Like Bowen plays 90 every week, but like looking at Villa's spacing, they've got Saturday to Thursday to Monday, so
that's
there's
pretty
probably
good.
only one realistic rest would be the Monday night against Brighton at home, but I mean there's nothing to suggest he would get rested.
Which game week is that?
That is that's game week 19. Um,
Brighton at home. Is that New Year's Day? Is that the New Year's fixtures?
it's the 30th, but yeah, that
Fine.
round.
And then they have a break after that, don't they? Because it's in
Yeah, to
20.
Saturday for Leicester at home.
So like
So
that's
there's probably
one
one
game
risk. Yeah, there's one risk week basically. So yeah, he's
you
pretty.
you'd probably get by with that as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, it stands out to me that the more expensive ones are not massively better. They're probably slightly better, but in terms of value, they don't feel like they massively are. When you're having a look at the cheaper ones, I mean, one player I really like is Iwobi. He's slightly more expensive at 5.7 than someone like an Enzo, someone like a Rogers, but his data is still pretty good. He's 0.42 XGI per 90 compared to 0.48 for Rogers, and then Fernandez 0.63 over the past six. Any love for Iwobi? The only issue is he goes away to Liverpool this week, right? But next week, he starts a really, really nice run of Southampton at home.
yeah. Wobie's an interesting one because, and then he's obviously got Bournemouth at home, Ipswich home, and Leicester not soon after that.
Yeah.
It's like Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not considering him too much because of like just the name. I guess we've got a bias that he's not like he's never been a fantasy asset, but
Yeah.
can't ignore it. It's 8 attacking returns in 15 starts. Another interesting thing for me is like Semenyo because he like I don't know, he seems to have fallen off a cliff really,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I mean, next week I could do Iwobi to Semenyo because if I'm benching Rodgers
Yeah.
against Man City, I'd have to play Semenyo away at Man United, so I could get Iwobi possibly, but
This
I don't know.
is
What do you think about
um
Semenyo?
yeah, Semenyo's in my team, and this is probably the last. If he blanks against West Ham, this will be the last week. It'll probably be the last week he starts in my team. I can't guarantee that I'll sell him next week. He does have, I think, Palace at home. There's a chance I end up having to keep him, but I'd probably sell him now if he blanks again. Like, he's been involved, and there've definitely been chances for him, and he's playing a lot of minutes, but I'm massively, massively put off him. I'd buy Cliver. If I was buying Bournemouth now, I'd definitely buy Cliver. I'd rather 60 minutes of Cliver playing attacking midfield and on penalties than what I'm seeing from Semenyo. I probably wouldn't buy either now. But yeah,
Semenyo's got 2 attacking returns in
yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 11 weeks.
I mean, if his teammates could finish, he would have had more than he's had. But yes, if Tavernier could finish, he'd have about 3 assists in the past 2 weeks. Like, Tavernier here is like 0.55 XGI per 90, 0.32 XG per 90, and no goals because he's just missing all of Semenyo's passes to him. So I don't think it's complete like get rid, particularly going up against this West Ham team who give away chances, and Bournemouth at home are really, really good. So I'm hopeful that we might get something from him this week. But yeah, like if I was going now, it would be Rodgers, it would be Enzo, or it would be Iwobi as my Burma replacements. I think those are the top 3. If you need them this week, then it probably isn't Iwobi. But apart from that, I really like him, and I don't think I'd be spending on a more premium one.
Yeah, that's fair. I
If
just
you,
chuck a differential Souček in the mix. He
yeah,
keeps ticking over, got decent fixtures. Although you could possibly say the fixtures don't really matter for him because he just scores headers, but he keeps ticking over. Just 4.9, probably the cheapest one.
yeah. If
And
you were
Ahmad as well, we haven't mentioned.
yeah, that's true. I just worry a little bit about this chopping and changing for United. It puts me off him too much.
He started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He started 4 of the last 5 weeks.
Yeah,
But
he
his
looks
data,
great.
like his expected assist is about 0.4 and he's got 5, which is not
Yeah,
ideal.
yeah. If you had to go for one of the more expensive ones, Bowen's probably top for me. How do you feel on Matoma?
Uh, do you want to double up with João Pedro? I mean, it's good fixtures. Do we think he's due a break? I don't know.
I feel like
They've
he's the
got
most nailed
people
of
are
them, to be
coming back.
honest. Yeah.
Players are coming back. Yeah, I
If
mean,
you,
it's good differential, 6.6. But
yeah.
again, it's like, why would you pay 6.6 for Matoma? And then if that stops you getting Trent when you can get Rodgers for 1.5 million less?
Yeah. I don't mind Matoma. I agree. I probably wouldn't double up on Brighton. But yeah, I probably think I agree that we look at the cheaper ones. If you had to rank your top 3 cheap ones, I'm going to put Rodgers top just because I know what I'm getting with him. I'm going to go Rodgers. If you need this week, Rodgers, Enzo, Iwobi. From next week, I might put Iwobi above Enzo.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to put Rodgers top because I did buy him last week. So yeah, Rodgers, then Enzo, and then I mean, it's maybe Ahmad. I do quite like Ahmad, but yeah, it won't be from next week. Maybe Semenyo scores a brace against West Ham and he comes back in because you could then spin Semenyo's fixtures as Man United, Palace, Fulham, Everton,
Yeah.
and he's nailed. So
Well, exactly. If he does well this week, I might not selling him, but it would, yeah.
there could be a narrative for Semenyo this time next week.
Well, exactly. Like, let's give him West Ham at home, but he's definitely not been that impressive from the games that we've seen. Cool. Let's go and have a look at some of the defenders. So what we've got up on at the moment is teams ranked by clean sheets so far this season. Liverpool first with 7, Man United with 6, Everton with 5, Forest with 5, Arsenal with 5, and then basically everyone else has 3 or less. Only really 5 teams that have been reliable for any sort of clean sheets so far this season. Are there any defenders that you're considering outside of those top 5 before? I think like Liverpool and Arsenal is where a lot of the focus is, and we'll talk about Gabriel in a moment. I'm looking at Fulham again, like I spoke about with Iwobi. Their fixtures from next week start to look really nice again. Anderson is 4.2 now, is hopefully going to be back in training this week, and Robinson are both defenders that I'm looking at as potential replacements for Eight Nori. Chelsea, of course, up there. Cucurella or Colwill, if you had to pick one.
Still Colwill, I think. I don't think it's worth the price differential because
Yeah.
I think maximum Colwill will miss one more Premier League game in the foreseeable, and even then he might not. Like it's that Southampton game, I think was quite specific in the sense that Southampton are really poor,
Yeah.
and he made a lot of changes. And I heard a theory from Gary on Planet FPL. Don't know if you've listened to that yet, but he suggested that because they changed the goalkeeper, they also changed the centre backs, and like because they've been playing together
Okay.
in the Conference League every week. I don't like that's obviously just speculation, but like the only fixture that Colwill would probably be at risk for would be the Monday night game against Ipswich away. But do you want to chuck Disassi? I don't know. I didn't think Disassi like covered himself in glory
No. What's
really.
our
So
spacing like over Christmas if you've got it up?
we've got Sunday, Thursday, Monday, Saturday.
So Thursday, Monday.
That's Fulham at home. I guess Fulham at home on Boxing Day. He
But
could
we we,
rotate.
we play Sunday, Thursday.
Yeah. And then Monday.
I mean, they
I mean,
fit like,
Colwell will miss one, but so could Cucurella. And I don't think it's worth the zero point 0.6. Is it 0.6 difference? Yeah, 0.6.
yeah.
I'm not convinced that. Like, there's a 4 point difference at the minute.
I mean, I think we've seen that like Fulham are not a team that you just rotate against for the sake of it. Like Arsenal have
No.
seen that, like Liverpool have seen that. They've been very, very good at times this season. So I'd be surprised if we just rotate for the sake of it in that fixture at home to Fulham. Away at Ipswich, maybe, but I think they've shown themselves at home to be a decent enough side. Like I think Southampton was a very specific case that now people have in their minds that when we play a team midweek that there's going to be a rotation. If that was anyone else midweek, I don't think we would have changed our team nearly as much.
No, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit annoyed when I saw that team because I thought, like,
Jackson would
for
have had an
someone
absolute
with
hatful.
Colwell, yeah, I know, he looked gutted as well when he was warming up. But it's like, surely with Colwell, he hasn't played a midweek all season. Like, surely he can do a 3 game week.
Well, exactly. Like these players are not doing it every week, so they need a rest. They're doing it once a month
Yeah.
maximum.
But yeah, I like the Fulham shout because looking at my defense, I've got Gabriel, Van Dijk, Dallo, Eight Nori, Dunk, which is quite well set, but there's this kind of issues around about 18 and 9. Is it 17?
17,
When
they
do
have
Fulham?
Southampton at home.
Where, when do they have Bournemouth and Ipswich? Because that
19
is
and 20. Bournemouth
yeah.
at home,
See,
Ipswich at
that's
home.
yeah, because that week Dunk has got Villa and Arsenal, and Eight Nori has got Spurs.
Spurs,
So
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I could well be looking at Fulham in a few weeks. To be fair,
Yeah.
that's a good shout. They got some
Yeah.
good home games over Christmas.
I'm looking at potentially doing 8 Nori to Robinson or 8 Nori to Anderson around that time as well. Yeah, so Chelsea and Fulham look like some of the best cheaper ones to be having a look at buying now. Newcastle's not the worst if you can continue to rotate them in. But let's have a look at the ones that people are really starting to look at. Let's just do United quickly first. They rotate a lot. They do have some decent fixtures after the Manchester derby this week. The rotation in their defence puts me off completely. Like Mazraoui just not being in the team last game, despite being their best defender at the moment, just puts me off. Like Dallo is the most nailed, I agree, but I don't think I'd be buying him new now.
No, I wouldn't buy Dallo. I have him. I'm not going to sell because I think the spacing is like he could get the home games, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Southampton, and
Yeah.
like I'm not going to sell that. But yeah, it's not. I wouldn't be buying Dallo and Mazraoui. That was a bit of a kick in the teeth because he had been quite good prior to that. But they've got so many back now. It's
Yeah.
probably an avoid.
So looking at Arsenal first, to start off, those wondering about an update on Gabriel, they do play Champions League tonight. Apparently he hasn't been seen in training so far this week, and it is apparently a slight muscular problem. Doesn't feel great. It's starting to worry me now, this Gabriel injury. How do you feel?
Yeah, I agree. At first, I thought it was concussion because he obviously went off at half time
Yeah.
after getting a whack, and that would be a 7 days. But now it's gone on longer, and it's frustrating. I mean, Ipswich at home is in 16 days. Like
Hmm.
that would be kind of you'd want him back by then, I think. I mean,
I
I
mean,
assume everyone's got
I'd
a
want him for
decent sub
Everton at
though.
home this week. I don't have a
But you're
decent
not going to
sub.
sell him though. You're not going to sell him though, are you?
I'm
Or are
not.
you?
No.
And how is Saliba scored twice? Like the swing is
I
like
know.
that's
And
brutal.
Timber
Yeah.
scored last week as well. But yeah,
Set piece FC.
if
Sorry.
you were buying new now, where would you be looking? So I would probably still go Timber over Saliba, just because I think when Gabriel comes back, Timber is a better buy than Saliba.
Yeah. Although he wasn't training yesterday, was he?
There are a few of them that were missing.
Okay. So yeah, I and Zinchenko's injured now as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
Does it
that's
put you
obviously
off
more
buying new?
what Timber.
Well, just the fact that there might be no Gabriel, that there might be no, just
Not with
like,
these fixtures. No.
yeah.
I mean, look at their data. Like Forest was 0.33 XGC,
Hmm.
United was 0.22, Fulham 0.16. I mean,
Yeah.
those numbers are elite level. And Everton, Palace, Ipswich, Brentford, like those are
Yeah.
no, I'd want to, still do, still got to,
Yeah.
still
Nice.
would want to.
So, I mean, if Gabriel, let's say Gabriel is available, he'd be number one. Would you go
Yeah,
Saliba? And let's say they're all available. Of course, it's press conference and fitness pending. I'd put
press
Timber above
conference.
Saliba.
Not going to get much in the press conference, but
No.
yeah, yeah, I think so. I think there's like you have to take. I think we can put his injury out of our minds now. Like he started the last sort of 6 matches. He's
Yeah.
played 3 games in a week. He's. It seems like he's fine. He may miss one as standard, but yeah, I wouldn't be concerned about him.
Yeah. I agree.
And the .6 saving is quite substantial.
Yeah. And then, of course, the big team this week is going to be Liverpool. They have Fulham at home, Spurs away, Leicester, West Ham, Man United, Forest, Brentford, Ipswich. It's really from 18 that the fixtures start to get really, really nice for them. So a lot of people are looking to buy now. If you're not buying now, you're going to be looking to buy over the next couple of weeks, which is why people are coming off of Brian and Burmo. Outside of the big two in Trent and Van Dijk, do you have any love for Gomez or Robertson? Robertson got man of the match last night.
Yeah, I just I don't see why you would go for Robertson like
Yeah.
when he's that expensive. Like Gomez is 4.9. You could make a case for it. Like when did we say Kanate might be back? Man United.
Yeah. Which,
So you potentially got 4 games. Even that's pretty like what 2 clean sheets you're buying.
like, he needs a minimum of two for it to be worthwhile. I really don't think I'd be buying Gomez now. Like, let's say
No,
Kanate, like, even if Kanate's not back in 20, okay, Man United at home, Forest away, like, it's good, but it's not perfect. And he's going to be back at some point around then.
and he has
But
zero attacking threat. He's never scored for Liverpool.
exactly. Like, I look at a Colwill or I look at an Anthony Robinson and think those two will probably get reasonable points and they're better long-term holds than Gomez is. So I agree with you on Gomez. I agree with you that I wouldn't buy Robertson as well because Simicast will take minutes. It leaves Trent Alexander-Arnold and it leaves Virgil van Dijk. The big debate over the past couple of weeks. You have already bought one. Spoiler to the viewers. Who have you bought?
I bought Van Dijk, but that's all I could afford. Like I think there's no debate that Trent is better. Like look at his points per match. He's got 3 less points than Van Dijk, but he's played
Yeah.
quick maths. He's played around about 300 minutes less.
Yeah.
So that's the best part of 3. That's 3 games, and he's 3 points behind.
Yeah.
Obviously, you could then say that well, in the longer term, Trent will probably miss 1 or 2, whereas Van Dijk won't. But I don't know. I think Trent's definitely the best asset, but I could go Greaves to Van Dijk or Nori to Trent,
Yeah.
and I think yeah, I went for Van Dijk. I think that was best because I wanted 5 playing defenders.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't mind Van Dijk. There were some stats being posted yesterday. I think he's only ever scored his highest scoring season in the Prem. Van Dijk is 5 goals. He only scored 2 last year. His underlying data is fine. It's you are buying him for minutes and just how nailed he is and the chance of a 15 pointer with the goal. But his actual returns, we can have a look. If I go and get Virgil van Dijk here. Yeah, his highest was in 1920. He got 5 goals and 2 assists. So he's had 7 attacking returns as his biggest season. And over the past few years, he's had 4, 4, 6. And then before that, he was injured for a lot of it. So when you look at someone like an Alexander-Arnold, I mean, you look at his previous seasons, he got 8 last year. He got 13 the year before that. He got, 14 the year before that, 10 the year before that, 19. Like, he does have the historical record of many more attacking returns. It's just whether you think it's likely to continue this year with the system that they're playing. Like, historically, if you went by any season under Klopp, Trent is worth the 0.6 over Van Dijk.
Yeah, I don't think there's any debate he's worth it. Like, if I had the funds, I would have done it. But
do you think there's any concern about their minutes? Because the big one for them and their spacing is Leicester at home on Boxing Day.
I can't. I think there's very little chance he plays Quansah and Gomez, to be honest.
Yeah.
Could play Bradley, to be fair. Leicester at home on Boxing Day. Trent has form in that fixture, doesn't he? That was the game he scored and got 3 assists. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, do we know what the latest on Bradley is?
Nothing yet. He's similar to Konate, so the chances are he's probably not back by then.
I can't see it then. So yeah, you'd get Trent. I'd get Trent if you have the money, but I wouldn't panic too much if you can only get Van Dijk.
Yeah,
he says that having just got Van Dijk. But
interested to know in the chat what people are doing with Liverpool defenders. Are people going this week? Are people going Trent? Are they going Van Dijk? Where are they going? Nikolai's just said in the chat that Bradley is out until the new year, along with Konate, by the sounds of it. So you'd hope. I mean, the thing is, everyone's like, Quansah can play over Trent, but like Gomez might need a break. Like, there are other players along that defensive line that might need a break just as much as Trent does. And it sounds like Trent's going to play 60, 70 most games. And that's not the end of the world. Don't mind that.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's frustrating though, because I've got Dalot and Van Dijk, and that could be Colwill and Trent for the same money. That's just my fault. But yeah, I think Trent's the best, and you're going to get Trent. So
just
definitely
before we wrap up on Arsenal and Liverpool, how do you feel on the goalkeepers? Of course, Alisson is now back. Raya went up in price last night, so Raya is 5.6 and Alisson is 5.4. I would buy Alisson. But the only concern with Alisson is his fitness. He has more injuries than any other goalkeeper I've ever known. And that's my concern, that he'll just at some point he'll break again. And that will really annoy me. Whereas David Raya, touch wood, doesn't seem to have the same risk associated with him. If I knew they played the same amount of games, I think I'd go Alisson.
Yeah, I agree. But is that, like, if you have Fabianski, you could you probably do that, do you? Is Fabianski safe enough for you to go Alisson?
If they don't sack... I mean, he played pretty well on Monday night, actually. The big concern with a team like West Ham and Fabianski is if they sack their manager and the new manager comes in and picks Areola. That's the concern. But Fabianski, it's happened for like 2 years now, where they start with Areola, they get halfway through the season, and Fabianski then plays the rest of it because he's playing better. And I thought you had a pretty good game on Monday night. But yeah, I do think I'd go Alisson now. Some of those fixtures coming up are pretty nice. I don't think, this isn't the week to make the switch, probably, because Arsenal have Everton, Palace, and I don't think there's ever particularly going to be a week to make a switch between the two of them. But if I had the luxury of it, I would go Alisson over Raya now.
Yeah, I think I agree, because that double Liverpool defense would be a differential as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, West Ham's third choice goalkeeper is the most expensive keeper. It's quite funny.
Foderingham.
Yeah, it's more expensive than Areola and Fabianski. But I mean, I've got Vlad Marcin, so I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like people are asking in the chat, like Rayhan's asking, you can do Gabriel and Flecken to Timber and Alisson. Like, it's probably not certain it's worth 2 transfers, but it feels like a big upgrade, right? That's the other thing, is someone like a Timber.
I think you get the money elsewhere. I wouldn't want you not having Gabriel. I think he's far and away. Like, he scored 3. He seems to score goals. Like he scores Champions League goals, Premier League goals. He's probably going to hit 6 or 7 goals this season.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. but if it's not like if it's not Gabriel, but like a Van Dijk and a Raya versus a Allison and a Timber is so much. There's like a million difference between the two of them, and I think that even if they were the same price, the Allison Timber is probably better than a Van Dijk and Raya. So I can understand why people are looking to go to Allison over getting
Yeah. In the
with Raya.
chat saying that's would you care about blocking yourself off from a third Liverpool?
I mean, I don't ever
Like
see
if Jota,
myself wanting to buy a Liverpool attacker because it's just going to change every week. And I know when Jota's back, but then Jota will break again. Like, and then it will get to the double, and then it will be Darwin, and then it will be Jota, and then it'll be Diaz, and then it'll be Gakpo. No, I don't want to do it. I'd rather block myself off so I can't do something stupid like buying, not stupid,
yeah,
but I can't do something I don't want to do and I've been burnt by in the past
yeah.
and buy one of the attackers.
That potential double game week is a point as well.
Yeah.
Like having Allison for that, it seems
And
pretty
having Van Dijk for that, because for those of you who are unaware, the double might go into game week 24 or game week 25, which is the prediction at the moment, because that is when the Champions League playoff games are, and Liverpool are top of the Champions League, and I think they basically qualified in the top 8 last night, having won again, which would put them not needing to play those weeks. So there is a chance that it goes in there. And the issue with it going in game week 25 is in game week 26 they play Man City. So they'd have weekend, midweek Merseyside derby, then Manchester City in game week 26.
And Bradley, that's at mid-Feb, so Bradley would be back.
That's the only thing with going.
I don't think you look that far ahead to not pick Trent, but
No.
I think it makes Allison slightly better though to get that double defense for a good double game week.
Yeah. Just while we're here talking about them, Timber has been spotted with the Arsenal squad ahead of the Champions League tie against AS Monaco. No mention of any other defenders like a Gabriel or anything, but Timber presumably has, and presumably someone like a Gabriel has not, which is not ideal.
No. I fear I may be playing Dunk this week.
I feel like I could be playing Mikalenko. I can't get away from Mikalenko. I just can't.
You can't just get Colwell, can you?
I mean, I could, but I want my transfers for other things.
Yeah.
Right. While that's on our minds, let's have a look at our team. So what we're going to do something again slightly different. Is what we've got here is plan FPL, and we're just going to walk through a few little things and a bit more of the permutations. So it's a little bit more exciting than just putting our screens up. So I've already made one transfer. And if anyone doesn't use plan FPL, you can see it in action. I sold Mbermo for Rodgers. I will just quickly adjust the transfer price between the two of them. Or maybe not. Anyway. So that's the one transfer I've made, and I plan on doing Greaves to Trent with my other move. The benefit of doing Greaves to Trent rather than Lewis is there is a period of fixtures from game week 18 onwards that I quite like Lewis for. And also with Mikalenko potentially getting the double, I'm now inclined to hold on to him and just leave him on my bench for now.
I wouldn't let that cloud your thinking, to be honest. An extra game against Liverpool, which you don't even want it for anyway. I think I would press ahead with your original plan and not panic about a double.
Well,
Liverpool.
If I did, let's say I put Greaves back in here. I could do that. It would leave me 0.7 in the bank. And I'd probably look to roll the transfer. The only issue with me rolling the other transfer is if Gabriel's a doubt. Because I've got Lewis who's suspended, and that would leave me with Greaves who doesn't get in the squad half the time. And then Gabriel, Aït-Nouri and Trent. It does leave me pretty light this week. I could use my last transfer on something else. But I don't really know
have you got anything big planned in a couple of weeks? Like, could you get away with that?
I mean, I'm wondering about doing Cunha to Isak.
With Isak, you go now, though, don't you? Those two fixtures.
I mean, I don't really have much of a choice. Like, I can do Cunha to Isak, but I'm now really short, sadly. If I sell, and that's why I plan to sell Lewis, because it's either keeping Lewis or having room for Cunha to Isak. And maybe Cunha to Isak's a bigger priority.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky. There's no chance Greaves comes back. Probably very low
No,
anyway.
very
Yeah.
low. So at the moment, the plan is Trent in for someone this week. If I was to do it for Lewis, oh, and I kept Mikalenko and Greaves for now, it would allow me next week to do like uh, Isaac in for Cunha and maybe Semenyo to Enzo Fernandez. I'd have to check if I've still got the money for that, but I could look at something like that.
Triple Chelsea.
It would give me triple Chelsea attack, which doesn't feel ideal.
Top scorers.
I
It's all
mean, we
right.
are. It's not. It's not the worst. Um, I mean, I wouldn't sell Cunha this week, right? It would maybe be next week if they disappoint again. But then I
Yeah.
am losing. Isaac is the only thing. Trent will be coming in, and I'm hoping I don't have to use my other transfer. It just depends on who he comes in for: Mikalenko, Greaves, or Lewis. Lewis gets me closer to Isaac, but is probably the best long-term option. So, yeah.
Yeah. Although by then, could other players be back? Could Lewis be like? Is Lewis? Could Lewis?
It
Like,
sounds
surely
like
Lewis is not going to start every game over Christmas.
Akanji and Ake might be out till the new year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he said a few weeks for them, which
So it's
which
like
leaves them.
Stones. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing to note on that is it's not good for Gvardiol. It means he might end up playing the next few games at centre back, and we saw that definitely hampers him. But yes, Trent in for me, and I'll be keeping an eye on Gabriel because I could really, really do with him being back. Because right now my defence is working on fumes.
Well,
Right.
no one's scored any points all year, so you'll probably be all right.
Yeah.
Defenders.
That is last week's team. Right. Let me have a look at your one. Let me put your team ID in. And we will get your team up. So you've already confirmed one transfer this week.
Yes. Is that my team? No, it's gone. Sorry. Just looking at the screen.
Yeah,
Things coming
I've
up.
just put your screen up. So you have already done Greaves to Van Dijk.
Yes.
Presumably to start him this week over Dallo.
Dallo was already benched. It would have been Dunk who's
Dunk.
come out of the team.
Okay.
Dunk first sub.
And Salah in
Which
as well.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so my team's there. Yeah, sorry, it's a bit behind, but you've done that. So it will be Raya in goal, Eight Nori, Van Dijk, Gabriel, hopefully, Semenyo, Palmer, Saka, Salah, Cunha, João Pedro, and Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Decisions are Rodgers against Semenyo.
Yeah.
Um,
Surely
don't
it
think
has to
there's
be
anyone
Semenyo.
else. Yeah, I think so. Forest a decent defense, and then captaincy. It's going to be Palmer. It hasn't
Is it?
moved. Yeah,
Is it?
Brentford
I was going to
away. I
ask.
mean, that seems like the fixture that Palmer gets a mega haul. I think Brentford away have been awful, and yeah, it might burn me, but I'm not going to not captain Palmer this week.
I haven't decided on it yet. Plan FPL has your team ranked at 99% this week.
It looks decent on paper.
It does.
If that means anything,
It is true, but like if your team doesn't look like a free hit team this week, I feel like you're in trouble because everyone's teams looks like this.
yeah,
There's so many good home fixtures this week for basically anyone you own.
surely
so,
I
yeah.
get a green arrow this week. Surely,
But everyone's teams looks like this. This is the issue.
probably do really well, then captain Palmer over Salah and get a red arrow.
Yeah, probably. Let us know in the chat who you plan on captaining because it's really close. Mine's currently on Salah, but I'm really, really uncertain. Fulham looked really good against Arsenal
How
last weekend.
what would Palmer's fixtures have to be this week for it to be like certain Palmer against this Salah? Ipswich, Southampton, Leicester at home, I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
Brentford's
So
close
then,
to that though.
but Brentford, yeah, that's what like Brentford's away defense I think is worse. Like looking at Flecken's numbers away from home, conceded 2.5 XG at Villa, 1.2 at Everton.
Yeah.
Like they conceded 3.5 away at Spurs. But I mean, I don't need you to tell you how good Palmer is or Chelsea or anything, but and like they're playing centre backs at fullback and stuff. They're still
The only thing with Fulham is Fulham's injury crisis at defence is also
And
not
Bassey's
great.
suspended, actually, isn't he?
Yeah,
That's
like
actually a big deal. That's a big deal.
Anderson's out probably. Bassey suspended. So I mean, I don't really know who is going to play in that centre back spot, and that
Be
doesn't feel great
Diop
either.
with
Yeah,
maybe they put Sanderberg there or something.
yeah, one of the others. So that doesn't feel particularly great either.
I think they both get double digits this week, to be honest.
Yeah,
I can't see like Palmer's record at Stamford Bridge. He hasn't blanked at Stamford Bridge against a non-top six side since October 2022, 2023.
but I'm sure Salah's record at Anfield is probably pretty similar, right?
Yeah, possibly. Well, yeah, definitely. Oh, Cuenca is apparently a centre back. I haven't heard of him, but people saying in the chat. They do have a fourth centre back, but
I mean, that doesn't bode particularly well.
that's a chap who's played 3 minutes of Premier League football this year.
He's played 1 minute in 3 different games so far this season. So that's the guy who you're relying on to hold Salah back, just to check.
Yeah. Against Flecken, though. Flecken, like Palmer against Flecken could be fun.
Yeah, it's true. I think they're both good. I think it's really close. I'm
You're
currently
ruling
on
out
Salah.
Saka, though. You're not.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Everton, like, yes, they didn't do well against United, but generally they're much better defensively than some of the others. We saw that with the table we saw at the beginning in terms of goals conceded so far this season as well. So, yeah, it's like goals conceded. Fulham have conceded. I mean, they have conceded more because they had a couple of like batterings in there, Everton. But yeah, I mean, Brentford have 28 goals conceded. It's close. It's close. What's the chat?
So you're currently on Salah.
I'm currently
Lots
on
of
Salah,
people.
yeah.
A few people saying Palmer, then a few people saying don't be clever, just go Salah. There is that. But this week I think, despite if Salah would have played, I still think Palmer would have outscored him. So
Yeah,
it's not completely open and
he
shut.
did. He did get 2 penalties where, like, if Basuma and Sarr behave like normal,
Yeah, but we were due. Prior to that, we'd only had one in 14 weeks.
it's true.
Whereas how
but-
many has Salah had? About 5 or 6, 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's true, but like if Basuma, like let's say Basuma hadn't just done what he did against Caicedo and Sarr hadn't pushed him over in the box, like would we be thinking the same?
I think with Brentford, I mean, me probably, I'd still be captaining Palmer, yeah. But I mean, you could say that about Salah. Salah scored a lot of penalties this year.
Yeah. Cool. There was a question in from a super chat from FPL Victorious. Said, Ainu is his 4th defender. Play him versus Villa and roll, or move to Colwell for the long term. Also, best Cunha replacements. He has João Pedro and Jackson. So to start with,
I'd
Cunha,
get Colwell.
you'd get
Sorry.
Colwell over Aina.
Yeah.
I probably would. I just think there's nice long-term holds in there
Yeah.
for him.
And this week, Brentford at home is a good fixture.
Yeah. And Cunha replacements is something we'll probably cover over the next couple of weeks. Wood, I don't mind. If you can get to Jackson and Isak, that's probably where I'd be looking.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through forwards. Vissa keeps scoring, but fixtures get tricky.
Yeah.
Welbeck,
Yeah.
you want a Brighton double up. Vardy keeps scoring goals.
Yeah. Jimenez.
Yeah. There's a few. Jimenez 5.5 million with those fixtures, probably the best one.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Jimenez a lot. I actually wonder if João Pedro continues to disappoint, whether I'll do João Pedro to Jimenez.
João Pedro is strange. Like he's so inconsistent.
I agree.
We had another super chat as well, but
they've just asked to answer their question in the chat, so let me find it. Do either of us have any plans on getting to 5 free transfers?
I highly doubt it. To be honest, I can't.
I'm struggling to get by every week with the ones I've got. So the chances of me rolling 5 at the moment feels pretty unlikely. If I had the opportunity to, I would, but at the moment it doesn't feel likely.
Yeah, I'm quite impatient. If I get a move in my head, I usually do it. to
Yeah,
be honest. And I'm doing badly, so if I start doing well, I'll probably be more inclined to roll. But
I'm not
I can't
inclined.
see it. Although I don't really have anything planned for next week, so I could maybe roll into
Mm,
17. But yeah, getting to 5 would be a tough ask, I think.
yeah. Right, that is probably all for today. That is just under an hour. Thank you all very much for joining. Tom, I'll be interested to see where your Campsy armband ends up. Will you stick with Parma or not? We will see.
It's not moving. It's not
It's not
moving.
moving. Well, and I will, of course, I haven't confirmed my transfers yet. I'll probably be waiting to the deadline. They don't look like there's many price changes on it. Thank you all very much. Thank you for joining. Please like and subscribe before you go. If you're on podcast, rate us 5-star. Have a lovely week. Have a lovely weekend. And we will see you all next week. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.